So I don't know if I've ever told you, but I talk to my mother almost every day.
And you should.
If I'm traveling, every once in a while or something like that, maybe a day goes by, but almost every day. I talked to my mom. She said, did you guys do a reaction show? I couldn't find it. I said, no, we didn't. She goes, oh, were you too mad to do one? I said, well, there was a lot of moving parts. People had different schedules. I was traveling. We had dinner on Sunday, so I didn't get to watch it. I could have done one Sunday evening if I would have been able to watch the game. But I had to know what was happening in that game and go back and re-watch it, already knowing how terrible it was. So it just put everything behind the 8 ball. And my mom goes, oh, you didn't get to watch the game? I said, no. She said, I'm 74, don't know anything about football. And I knew almost every play they were running in the second half.
We got to get your mom to be the defensive coordinator.
I said, what? And she goes, no. She goes, I knew what the Bengals play call was when they came to the line of scrimmage. I could tell.
Wow.
74 doesn't know anything about football.
Wow. Golly. That's a damn shame. Kudos to your mom, though, for knowing what's up. But at the end of the day, that's a damn shame, and that's even more an indictment on the coaching staff. But we'll get into all of that.
When Mama Darlene can call what play the Cincinnati Bengals are going to run, that means we need a new head coach.
At least an offensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
I mean, somebody's got. I don't know. I digress.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're already getting in the weeds. We're gonna give you a little bit of our reactions. We're gonna give you our 2 cents on the Eagles game, so you're not gonna miss out on that. We're gonna give you our 2 cents on the coach speak BS, the bewildered look on Joe Burrow's face in his press conference, and all the other stuff. Before we get into our normal run of the jungle, but before we get into that, we're gonna get into the intro. Welcome to Runnin Thru the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your hosts, Justin, Lacey, and Tim Lyons. What's going on, fellas? All right.
I'm sorry, my mic was muted. I said, oh boy, losing sucks. It feels like that we're downtrodden. We're just sickened. We feel like that we have no hope. It feels like that everything that you thought was good in the past has been ruined, and it doesn't set up for a bright future. A lot to discuss today.
Ruh-roh, Raggy. Tim, how you doing out there?
All I got to say is I know I'm a little bit chippery than Justin is. Love you, brother, but smile. It makes you look better. But anyways, good thing for me is that Notre Dame knows how to run the damn ball. They took care of business on Saturday versus the Navy that everybody thought, a lot of people thought, oh, Navy's going to handle business and, take care of Notre Dame and knock them off. But anyway, so at least my team, one of my teams won this weekend. Other team, well, we're here on this podcast and we're going to discuss that.
I don't know who you're listening to, because if you're listening to Pay Dirt, you would have already won that bet, taking Notre Dame over.
I didn't say you.
Over Navy, but, I digress. I will say this, while you have a second out there, wherever you're watching or wherever you get your podcast, please give us that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe. Rate, review, and share us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. That 5-star review, I'm telling you, on Spotify, Google, Apple Pod, wherever you're at, does a lot to help us out, get those algorithms. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us, supporting us, and doing those things for us. I can say this. For 8 straight weeks, the Running Through the Jungle podcast has gotten better. I cannot say that about this football team.
It's because I'm good looking. That's why. And
Yeah. Numbers get better every week. The numbers for the team have not, unfortunately. So let's get into this Eagles game. You know what? Started out, Eagles takeaways, take it all the way. It started off, it looked pretty good. Joe Burrow made a couple of Houdini escapes out of the pocket, made some good throws. Tim, you alluded to pregame here before we went live. You alluded to Mike Gesicki looked like he was going to have a great game. Started out of the box. We were making some plays. We got to stop early.
Yeah.
Things looked pretty good. And then all the walls fell in. So, Tim, I'm going to let you go because I feel like Justin's going to cook on this one. So, I'm going to let you go first. Tell me what your takeaways from this game were, the good, the bad, the ugly, man.
Well, the good thing is Mike Gesicki was involved. He had seven receptions. I think he led the league, or not the league, but he led the game for the Bengals for the most reception yards.
Most yards
in the game. So 7 receptions, like 73, 78 yards, whatever the hell it was. And I thought for sure, Gesicki was going to cook. And I believe I called him as my game ball on the last Wednesday's game. I think I said Gesicki. But it was looking promising. It was looking great. Just like Brandon said, we marched down the field for 70 yards. And I think that was I think they said that was the longest the Cincinnati Bengals have had a drive all season long or something. I don't remember what the stat line was. I don't know. It's kind of like all gray area now. But and then the second half came along and it all imploded. It seems like they just can't get the job done. They just cannot keep the foot on the pedal. That's one thing that I know Justin, yells and screams about on the Twitter and on X, whatever you want to call it, about the Cincinnati Bengals need to learn how to be the Baltimore Ravens or the Steelers and keep their foot on the pedal and just keep your neck to, keep your foot on their neck and just keep going. Bengals can't seem to get that even started. Bad play calling on third and 1, then bad play calling on 4th and 1. It's just bad play calling. And so that was the good, that was the bad. And then the ugly, we got whomped. This was, we were hoping that this was going to be our statement game. No, this was the Eagles statement game. At least somebody had a statement game. And we're still 0-4 at home. Justin, to you, buddy.
Yeah, the litmus test didn't go as we wanted it to, for sure.
And you want to know what's sad? Is that my overall takeaway from this has absolutely nothing to do with the Eagles. It has so much more to do with the failure in the operation of the front office and the coaching staff of the Cincinnati Bengals. Simply put, this was the measuring stick game that we all had looked at because we both played the same 2 teams prior to matching up against each other this past Sunday. The Eagles really didn't have the great of a showing as well either as leading up to the game. They're a team that, they won some games here and there and stuff, but nobody was walking away with overly impressive nature with what the Philly was doing so far this season. Jalen Hurts, I think he only had 9 touchdowns on the season, 4 picks before the game. Saquon Barkley was the heart and soul of the offense. It sort of just transitioned to him. But they had guys that they were missing. They were missing the left tackle. They were also missing Dallas Goedert at the tight end. But yeah, all I see is Bengals fans crying about, we're not productive without T. Higgins. Is that really the indictment really that we should be speaking? That's a bad indictment on the coaching staff not being able to develop the philosophy around young guys to insert into the lineup when they know that they can play. It should never have taken this long for Mike Gesicki to get us several catches. We never should be talking about Andre Yosevaz.
Well, he did the first 2 weeks while
And then
he was on the.
then he disappeared the next 4 to 5 weeks. And that's the fault of the coaching staff, not inserting them in the lineup and spreading them out as that third wide receiver, second to become a number 2 option when he's available.
Yeah.
The fact that I saw Drew Sample as a starting tight end on Sunday Night Football, that already told me what I needed to know. This coaching staff is just setting players up for failure. And then let's go to, and then we're going to have a large conversation regarding this. At least I will, at least. But it never should have taken several weeks after week 2 for Jermaine Burton to finally get another catch. It never should have taken that long. He was very much an asset to this team on offense, and yet you wasted so much time to finally get him on the field to drop a play here and there to be able to say, hey, run this route, run this route, run this route. And he made another explosive catch. And it's very frustrating watching this coaching staff just continually suppress the value of their current stars. Joe Burrow played his ass off on Sunday. At least he tried to. He did everything you possibly could have as far as like getting the quarterback, as far as like trying to get the team going by himself, him and Jamar. And yet it was just constantly met with the defense just once again couldn't stop a nosebleed on a day where the offense was trying to functionally perform. The coaching staff was just setting up for bad play calls left and right, especially in the second half. We already talked about the 4th down blunder of throwing 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you get immediately tackled for a loss. You don't even block the guy. 3rd and 1 before that was a horrible run play. This team still can't run the ball. And then all offseason, we talked about how Mixon was just – the offense was moving away from that style of running. Yet Mixon's thriving in Houston through a similar pathway of offensive game style that Houston is running. And yet – Zach Moss and Chase Brown can't even pop 5 yards. Oh, but we like it when they can do an explosive run here and there. But no one's consistent. No one's fooled by this Bengals offense. And we had prematurely decided that this Bengals offense was super explosive in losses when they almost won. Instead of the reality check is that those teams just couldn't measure up defensively against the Bengals at that time. And the Bengals offense in their system has been figured out. And that they're still bad on defense. This defense is just historically bad, like just flat out historically bad. And I don't know what you do about it at this point. We like Trey Hendrickson, but is that somebody you invest in the future? And it's sad. And I know that I don't want to pick on him so much, but he got shut out by Fred Johnson, a cast off from the Bengals' worst offensive line group. And you got blanketed by him. But Trey Hendrickson is allowed to have a bad day. Sam Hubbard just couldn't make no effect on a pass as a pass rusher, and he got basically blanketed by a backup tight end for the Eagles. I didn't even heard of his name before. It's just disgusting all the way around when it comes to this ball club. And as I mentioned before, I tip my cap to the Eagles because they're the team that was facing similar adversity. Their coaching staff, people throwing Nick Sirianni on a hot seat, and they had a couple of L's to their name. Was like, oh man. They've regressed since their 2022 Super Bowl run, but they showed up and showed out on the road in the hostile environment, so to speak, with the Bengals wearing white helmets, the uniform that we started, giving early prognostications that when they don the white helmet, they play some of their best ball, and they played some of their worst ball, and that's just frustrating all the way around. So, I mean, and as a person that was also in attendance to the game, I was just sitting there in the first half. I was excited. The Bengals was making some plays. The first drive, chew up 10 minutes over the drive, 10 minutes on the first drive, got a score. And I'm thinking, okay, I think they want to play the clock possession game here because they know that they can run the ball with Saquon Barkley and they have no answer for the tush push. So they want to play ahead of the chains. I get it. I like it. But then they got hit with the sandwich touchdowns in between halves and they couldn't overcome that. And that seemed like that was the devastating nature that this defense was not going to stop anything else the rest of the game. On the day also where the offense never punted. Period. And last thing I'll say is Evan McPherson is no longer Money Mac. He hasn't been for quite some time. He is just a guy.
And now I will say this, a couple things. One, we didn't stop the Eagles in the second half. They scored on every possession. Unacceptable. One of the other things I want to say, listen, Money Mac is having a bad year. There's been a couple things with holds this year. We're part of it. He's having a bad year. I live in Pittsburgh. They have Boswell here. About 4 years ago, they almost ran him out of town, and he's been one of the best kickers since. He had one off year. So I'm hoping that that's the situation we're in. We're going to get to find out because they just paid the guy $6 million a year. So we're going to find out if he bounces back. We talk about historically bad defense. Right now, the Bengals are at right at that bottom third level as far as where they're at in the defense. As far as yards given up per game and points given up per game, they're doing better than the Baltimore Ravens in both of those categories. So there's a way to win the game. Rather that defense is doing that, but whatever, they're not playing complimentary whatsoever. And I look at all the things going on as far as talent, as far as scheme, as far as development, as far as play call, and I keep pointing back to it. And I said it a little bit last year and took a little bit of shit for it last year. I said it a little bit last year, and I've said it a lot this year. I don't think coaching is where it needs to be.
Absolutely not.
I blame coaching for a lot of the developmental issues that you're talking about as far as getting people ready, getting them on there. I have major questions about our offensive line coaching because we got guys that are proven pros for the most part, and still haven't been able to figure out the run game, especially. Then just the vanilla aspect, and I didn't make that up, by the way, in the cold open. My mother called me and told me she knew what plays the Bengals were going to run. I've been calling it vanilla for way too long. I don't know what the answer is, if there is an answer, other than like you owe it to Joe Burrow to surround him with the greatness that he is. Like, if this isn't working, don't go through the experiment like you did in the Marvin Lewis days, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had one good run and we had a playoff berth and we won a couple of divisions, so you just kept doing it. Don't do that. Make a change of some sort.
Can I add something to that real quick regarding? I'm gonna speak back because I'm gonna get both of you involved here with this question regarding the defense and the personnel and the choices that they select to run out these guys on the field. I heard somebody else say it on the show today. I don't remember which show because I listen to a lot of Bengals podcasts, but it was a compare and contrast of the personnel rosters on the defense comparatively to the Steelers. And I'm going to do this one with the Ravens. Is there anybody on the Bengals defense that you can see be a starter on the Ravens defense right now? They got to take one person off the field. I can only think of one, and that's Trey Hendrickson. We all know that. They can line them up on the D-line along with them. But is there anybody else that you are taking off the Ravens defensive personnel and inserting a Bengals player on a defense personnel?
On the defensive line, like you're right.
Entire defense. Let's start with the D-line.
So so let's start with the D-line. I'm going to say Trey Hendrickson. Yes, we can put him in.
We all know that
he didn't be instant starter. And then my other defensive player would be Mike Hilton at the slot or at the nickel corner spot.
That's a maybe for me. Okay, yeah. But as far as like their corners,
I guarantee you, if you took Mike Hilton and put him back on the Steelers or put him on the Ravens, I bet you he makes an impact because there's more than one guy rushing the quarterback the whole freaking game.
I put B.J. Hill in maybe for Michael Pierce.
I wouldn't.
I'm
sorry.
No, I wouldn't either.
You taking? I mean, same thing with I like Chris Jenkins. I believe in his future later on, but I'm not taking him off the field for Justin Madubuike.
Oh God, no.
No.
Are you taking anybody else off the side, like Adafe Owe for Joseph Osai? No.
You're not Sam taking Hubbard? Out. No. You're not taking out, Roquan Smith for Pratt
any or linebackers. Will Wilson, Jermaine Pratt. No. And in the secondary, I can speak to the secondary as well too. Brandon Steven and their cornerbacks, Brandon Steven and Marlon Humphrey for any of our secondaries. No. Like I said, maybe slot corner Mike Hill. They want a different defense.
I think their secondary is overrated. I don't
Sure,
think
they might be overrated, but
cornerbacks aren't.
the point
Their
of this
cornerbacks have
exercise,
played worse than ours.
the point of this exercise is to illustrate how truly awful the Bengals defense is. You can't even Von Bell, he wasn't even starting on the Carolina Panthers, who were excruciatingly bad last year,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
even worse this year. We thought
Yeah.
it was just communication issues with Nick Scott and such and Jordan
And
Battle. It's so
and-
much more. It's just so much worse than that, and that's
And
where
wasn't Geno Stone originally a backup?
he was originally a
at
backup.
safety?
He was never a starter. But
Right.
Marcus Williams got hurt, and then that's
Right.
when they inserted Geno Stone. And then unfamiliarity with this game caused him to be able to play well in their system, and that's how he was able to lead the league in interceptions and make a Pro Bowl. And I had a feeling that if we signed him, people were ecstatic about it. You know, he was a guy that got a pick from Joe Burrow. That's what we all heard all offseason. But the bottom line is, though, this is an indictment on the coaching staff, just as what you said, Brandon, because I don't want to hear the conversations from people that says, well, Lou didn't have much to work with. He only had Trey Henderson, nothing else. Okay, he didn't have a say with all the first-round draft picks, the first, second, and third-round draft picks that we picked. Miles Murphy still don't know what we have in him. We did you messed it up with Dax Hill. Okay, I understand he was probably not champion for letting Jesse Bates walk. That's a front office decision and a front office blunder. But he did had a hand in literally calling Von Bell back up and bringing him back when he left. He literally had a hand in making sure Nick Scott was signed. He had a hand with Geno Stone and making sure he was signed. He had a hand with drafting Cam Taylor-Britt, the pick after Dax Hill. And that almost could have been a pick that worked out. I'll at least try to give him that. But at the end of the day, his philosophy on defense is just not working, along with the philosophy on the offensive side of the ball. Outside of Joe and Jamar, who's the identity of this offense? They have no one. And we can't keep thinking that T. Higgins is going to be available. We clearly saw that one little tweak and he's out for maybe 2 weeks again. So with that being said, this is a nightmare team right now. And everything about this team just screams, man, they're closer to more rebuilding than re-entering the conversation as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I agree. I you know what, Justin, you were on fire, bro, and I agree with you 110%. It's just like nothing's getting going. Nothing's getting going, we'll put it that way. And I know they asked Joe if, there was a possibility that we could get back into, into the playoffs. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be Mr. Negativity here. I don't see it happening.
Oh,
The way the Cincinnati Bengals are playing offensive side and defensive side, there's no way in hell unless Joe Burrow goes out there and puts 40 points in a game and we're winning these games, 40-37 against the Ravens or the Chiefs or whatever. But other than that, and you want to talk about coach's cliff notes, Brandon, you just brought up the thing. Well, let me get into one thing that I wanted to bring up about the coach's cliff notes. I watched Joe Burrow's conference today, his news conference today. He made one comment that really made me go, a reporter was talking about, Joe, how are you feeling? How do you think the team's doing, whatever. And Joe's response was, well, we got to execute. But we haven't been able to execute for the last couple years. I don't know if that was Joe subliminally saying maybe coaching staff, maybe personnel staff, whatever the situation is we're paying that dude $55 million a year coming up soon for what? We might as well trade him. The way that this organization is building our team on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, why the hell are we? I almost cussed. I'm just so fired up right now. Why the hell are we paying Joe Burrow $55 million when we can draft a quarterback out of the draft and pay him nothing and just keep losing? Because that's what we're doing right now. And I know that I'm usually, not this negative, but it's embarrassing. It's like we're back in the 90s again. We have certain weapons. We had Carson Palmer. We had Ocho Cinco. We had who's your
mama?
Yeah, who's your mama? We had TJ. We had a good offense. We had Corey Dillon back in the day, but we did nothing. And now here we are. We have an offense that looks good on paper, a defense that looks like doo-doo on paper, and it's the results are us being 0-4 at home and 3-5 in the division.
I almost muted you when you said you might as well trade Joe Burrow. I'm glad I
didn't
did.
know where you was
I'm glad
going
I
with that
did.
either, but I think I know where you're going with that. I think
But you guys understand my point, though. Right?
Just for the people that's going to be listening to this show, thinking that we're not anti Joe Burrow.
No,
Tim is not
at
saying
all.
we want to trade Joe Burrow. No, it's
Right.
this organization is letting him down.
Yes.
And if they're going to continue going this pathway of not investing in the team to maximize the talent around them, then you might as well send them to a place that will do that, because this team is going nowhere.
And not even investing in the team. Okay. Some of the stuff you got to change the way you're doing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're one of the only, if not the only team in the league that no one can talk to the GM or owner or whatever during the season because they don't do that, or they have
disgusting.
They have we have personnel issues. You should be answering questions.
Hell
right?
yeah.
We have coaching issues. The one thing I will say this: Zach Taylor will sit up there and take accountability. There was a bad play call. I shouldn't have thrown that pass on 4th and 1 behind the line of scrimmage, blah, 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 blah. He takes onus for it. But the problem I'm having is he's taking onus with it every damn week.
Mm-hmm.
I want you – it's great. It's great to take responsibility for your mistakes. But if you don't change your habits or change your decision-making or your coaching styles and then you're not doing anything, but you're going to continue to do the same thing you've done and get the same reactions and results. My thing is this. The frustration in Joe Burrow has mounted to the point where he can no longer hide it on his face.
Nope.
Rewind to take the coach off after, was it the Commanders game? Before they went into the press conference, Lou Anarumo, and Zach Taylor go into a room and talk. From then on, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. The comment, like you said, just the look of bewilderedness. He is too good for this organization to continue to allow this to have the effect. If they have to identify a problem. Let's start with a problem. Maybe not the problem. Identify a problem and fix it. Remove it. Get something new there. Whatever it is. Identify a problem and fix it.
Yeah. They
keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result.
Insanity.
It's not I don't understand it at all.
I don't either.
And you know what?
Zach Taylor to me is on a hot seat.
He certainly is. But before you go into Zach Taylor, because I want you to finish that comment, but to add on to the Joe Burrow comment, I am backing him 100% on his frustrations, on this facial expressions as well.
Yeah.
Because he was also asked the question that he should never had to be asked regarding, you're seeing, and I'm glad that the question was asked. Don't get me wrong, because awareness need to be out there about, teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bills making the move and stuff. And he said, not my job. And then the follow-up question came regarding it. He said, not my job. I almost put that as my tagline, is not my job, because that really isn't his job to answer that question. And that just goes to show that, dude, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but based off of what I see is, I see that they're doing that. And it's frustrating that our team is not doing that when we clearly have the ability to contend and compete and beat those teams. You've seen us do it, and yet we're not doing it. And it is frustrating. So I'm backing him 100% because down the road, because it's going to get harder. The teeth of his second contract is not even kicking in yet. It kicks in next year. He's in his final year of his rookie deal right now, even though he signed the extension before last year. That new deal kicks in next year. Things are going to get so much harder, and yet these draft picks have whiffed like crazy. No one's developing. The old guys are regressing, and the young players behind them are regressing and taking the downslide along with them too. It's so maddening and so frustrating to see that at the end game, you have to have a full organizational change. I don't see Zach Taylor surviving this, and I want you to go ahead and pivot to that, Brandon, because you were heading to that way. I don't see Zach Taylor surviving this. I don't see Lou Anarumo surviving this. I also think that they need to have a shakeup with the organization front office. And man, maybe you tell Duke Tobin, step aside. We need to insert truly a general manager here. And that's going to be the real calling card if this front office is really about business for real.
So if you rewind, back to those, look at the success we've had in pockets, right? If you rewind this, my fear is if you don't hold the coaching staff accountable, because look at number one in our division right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-2. Their coach over there, whether you dislike him, or whatever you want with the Steelers, I know no one really likes them, but the coach is saying the standard is the standard. He's upholding the standard, right? Right now, we have a quarterback trying to get the rest of the organization, the coaching staff, and everybody else on his standard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
So my fear there is if we don't do something about it and change the way it comes from the top down, from ownership down, then we're going to end up with the same situation we had with Carson Palmer.
Dude, I'll even take it a step further, because and not even Bengals related, because I think that is a slightly different thing. But I'm gonna take you to the '90s Cowboys. You remember after Jimmy Johnson, mutually parted ways, and everybody was like, they was all whatever. 94, they went back to the NFC Championship game with Barry Switzer with Jimmy Johnson's team, and they won the Super Bowl in 95 again with Jimmy Johnson's team. But after the Barry Switzer era ended, then they came like the Chan Galeys of the world and stuff. Troy Aikman tried desperately to re-energize the team, the organization, with the nucleus of what Jimmy Johnson had previously instilled, the mental toughness, the attitude. He was the guy that kept on trying like crazy hell to get winning back into Dallas. And he grew exhausted. And people thought that he retired because he retired in 2000. I believe that he could have played another 6 more years had he would have had the right combination of guys in the building, in the front office, and in the coaching staff. I believe he would have been able to play longer than that. He could have been what Tom Brady was with 6 championships before Tom Brady came in with his 6. But the reason why I didn't was because there were too many bad decisions that were made within the Cowboys organization, and he didn't want to be a part of it no more. And he was on the obvious end of his career, getting to the end of his career. He had already had concussions. Like, dude, I can't keep putting my body on the line for this nonsense anymore. This is a massacre. This is a mess. I fear in that same respect that if you do that, yes, the Carson Palmer comparison does come to fruition. But I believe that Carson Palmer did not elevate the team the way that Joe Burrow has. Even though they were considered leaders of the locker room, leaders of the team, faces of the franchise, I get all of that. But Joe Burrow is on a different stratosphere than Carson ever was, because he is the reason why the Bengals succeed. It isn't show as hell ain't Zach Taylor. And in the nickname that mad scientist Lou Anarumo needs to end. That needs to be permanently end that now. I do not want to hear that ever again come out of anybody's mouth, because he's never been the mad scientist outside of the 2 years that we made our little playoff runs. Every other year that he's been the defensive coordinator for the Bengals since 2019, the defense has been atrocious. Tim, I know I'll let you go, Tim.
One thing I do want to say is, and I'm not saying I'm going to say it anyways. In Lou's defense, when the offense is going 3 and out, and the defense is on the field constantly, so everything is starting. It's either going to start this way. It's going to start because the offensive coordinator or the head coach, as we know as Zach Taylor, who's calling the offense, is calling crap ass offense, and we're going 3 and outs. We can't execute. We can't get these first downs. We can't move the ball down the field. And then the defense ends up finding themselves on the field for 35, 40 minutes a game. It's not going to help your defensive coordinator at all, period, point blank.
For sure.
But also those is when we have these games that are, against the Patriots, those BS games that we did lose. Yeah, I can see Lou being on the hot seat. I can see it when we played against the Commanders, Lou on the hot seat. Okay, I understand those.
Hold him accountable.
He should be. Right, and he should be. But the number one hot seat of this, all of this is coming from our head coach who was calling the offense. When we're going 3 and out, and that defense is on that field busting their ass every single game, you can't expect good results. So what's the change going to be? I'm not ever going to say fire this person or fire that person, but something needs to change. Just like Brandon said, they need to identify what needs to change. Either if it's Zach giving up his play calling and having Brian, or not Brian Callahan, but oh my gosh, I can't even think of the offensive coordinator's name. Dan Pitcher. Letting Dan Pitcher call the offense, or even let Joe Burrow call his own damn offense. Something has to change. And we know it's stemming from the head coach, who is also calling the offense, and it's running down to the defense, and the defense can't do crap. And I agree with you 110% that our defense is not Super Bowl caliber. Like the old saying says, defense wins championships. Our defense can't even win a home game. Our offense can't win a home game. Tom Brady won all those championships because he had a defense. The Seahawks won championships because of defense. All these teams win championships because of defenses. Look at Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is not having a MVP season right now, but they're winning games.
He's not even having a good season.
No.
Right. They're winning games. Why? Well, because they have a pretty decent defense for what they built from that, and they're moving on. This Bengals team is not going to change until, like Brandon said, they take the one thing. Like for me, I believe it's Zach Taylor, because he's the head coach and he's calling the offensive calls. And if he's not calling the right offense, we're screwed in the long run. Offense and defense, it's over with. Have a nice day. We lose 37-17. Have a good day.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball here, so we're going to have to speed this up for our takes on the Raiders, which I don't think we'll have a very, very hard time doing. I don't have a whole lot to say about this game. It's going to be a repeat of a lot of things that we said going up to this game. So we'll take a quick break. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, share us with a friend. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. All right, welcome back to Running Through the Jungle. I apologize for being abrupt there going into the break, but I almost coughed in the microphone. That's always fun. All right, so we do need to talk about this matchup we've got coming up with the Raiders. So we got another home game here, right?
Yep. We got another home game with the date hey, Marvin Lewis is going to be coming back to town. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. Is it though?
Dude, it's going to be mediocrity at its best, when it comes to this game. But yeah, I don't really know what to even make of this Raiders roster right now. I don't know what to make of this team. I thought that Antonio Pierce, he did a good job closing out last year and restoring hope, I should say, to the Raiders fan base, as they were just absolutely abysmal under Josh McDaniels. And they needed somebody that was going to just, culminate the locker room a bit. And he did a good job of that. But, that only lasts for so long. And it's a very short window of time until you got to start really getting into the X's and O's along with your Jimmys and Joes. And they got guys. But at the end of the day, it's not working out for the Raiders. They still don't have any answers at quarterback. Their D-line is nice. You still got Max Crosby, who was one of the more fearful pass rushers in the NFL. I put him into my top 5 firmly as one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. They did sign Christian Wilkins, but I think that he is injured, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't even know if he's even playing. Gardner Minshew is still Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania, whatever. Fu Manchu, whatever. Aiden O'Connell is gone for the year. They did sign Desmond Ridder. That's also nice. And Jacoby Myers, came from the New England Patriots. They traded away Devontae Adams. It's a lot of mess going on. I am thankful that the Bengals are not as bad as the Raiders, but it doesn't matter because bad is still bad. If you're not contending for championships, or if you're not winning in the playoffs or making yourself a playoff caliber team, then you don't mean anything, whether if it's an 8-9 team or a 2-12, 2-15 team. I don't think the Raiders are 2-15 bad, but I think they got at least a couple more wins in them. But overall, I don't really know what to think about this Raiders team. But what I do know is that even if the Bengals do win this game Sunday, it ain't going to change a damn thing as what the expectation level is going to be, because this is another one of those games where you should be supposed to win this game. Just like the Panthers game, just like the Giants game, just like the Browns game. This is another one of those games where you're supposed to win this game. And it'll be much more disappointing if you do lose it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Raiders, listen, Antonio Pierce, like you said, alluded to, he did a really good job, I think, last year with what they had in the cabinet. For whatever reason, they didn't put anything in the cabinet again. This is kind of a weird situation, and I feel like they're setting him up for failure. Doesn't feel great. The one thing I will say that they've done, polar opposite of the Bengals, boy, they just keep drafting good tight ends, huh?
Oh, yeah, bro. Brock Bowers this year. Last year, it was the Michael Mayer train for those fans that wanted Michael Mayer. Man, give me one of those guys.
Yeah. I can't wait to see. I can't
Michael
wait
Mayer
to see.
hasn't actually played for the last couple of weeks because of personal issues, so he's been MIA for at least the last 5 or 6 weeks, I want to say.
I can't wait to see who they take next year. Colston Loveland out of Michigan, real good tight end if they're interested in another one. I digress. But let's talk about our matchup concerns. Tim, I'll throw it over to you. What concerns you most as far as the matchups? I know we have a bunch of concerns, no matter who we're rolling out there playing, but specifically with the Raiders, what are your matchup concerns?
And I'm gonna be honest with you, my only matchup concern really is the heart of that Raiders defense is Max Crosby. He's going to be going up against Marius Mims or Cody Ford, wherever side he decides to jump on, and it could be a good game for him. I know last week I don't think he got home at all last week, but I think they're an average like 2 sacks a game kind of thing for the Raiders. Yeah, and of course, my other matchup concern would be Brock Bowers. Brock Bauer, he's been having a good year as long as he gets the ball. I know he got 4 receptions in the first half last week. They only got 1 in the fourth quarter last week as well. But he's been playing pretty good ball. And I know every week that I do Who Day Weekly, it seems like I'm mentioning his name at least every other week. Mm-hmm. So Brock Bauer and Max Crosby are my concerns. And Justin was nailing on the head. Uncle Rico as their quarterback. Jacoby Meyer coming from the Patriots. I know he had a touchdown last week, but we don't know what we're going to get. My concern with this game, my whole full concern with this game is, are the Bengals going to win or are we going to lose? That's my concern.
All right. Justin, concern with the matchup concerns here with the Raiders.
Well, anybody that you put against this Bengals defense, is going to spell cause for concern. Tim already kind of snatched it right out of my mouth, right underneath me. I'm going to just kind of echo it a little bit, but it's Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is producing like that number 1 graded tight end that we all saw coming out of the draft. And he also is paired with the other tight end that they have in Harrison Bryant. People forgot he's on that team too. Obviously, I thought it was Michael Mayer, but I didn't realize that he was hurt. But they also got some speed at wide receivers. I'm looking through their roster right now. I do forget that they do have Zamir White at running back. That is a guy that can chew up the clock. If this game is going to be a close game, and let's say that the Raiders are holding a miraculous 13-10 lead, Zamir White can close it out by himself. He's shown that he can do that against a better defensive front in the Cleveland Browns, against the Cleveland Browns a few weeks ago when the Browns went to Vegas, and Zamir White was just trucking all through those guys. It was crazy. I watched that game. But Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, UC product, and they got a number of guys that I feel like that they can kind of beat us on the outside. I do see that they have Anders Madison too, the former Vikings running back, which I'm not really all too impressed with that. But as far as defense go, I know that we talk ad nauseum about their pass rushers like Max Crosby, but man, they can get a lot of guys to rush the passer as well too. Robert Spillane is still there. I don't know. He did get hurt. I believe he got nicked up a
he's
bit against Kansas City. So
dang.
I don't know what his availability is going to be. But if he's out there, watch out. Because don't forget, this is the same Robert Spillane that played really well for the Steelers, and that's why the Raiders signed him. And he's a guy that leads their team in tackles with 51. He has a sack on the season, and I believe that he can play well in coverage. In fact, he has an interception from what I'm seeing here. So I'm
He's
losing my
dealing
voice.
with a knee injury and did not practice today. So we'll know more over the next couple of days. Zamir White, I can tell you this because he's on 2 of my fantasy teams. Soft tissue injuries. He hasn't. His past 3-4 weeks have just been.
They also got a couple of other guys that I feel like that they can use that rush the passer very well. Divine Diablo is another guy. I'm not really sold on their nose tackles, but then again, the Bengals can't run the ball. So that worries me too, that you're going to make these guys, their defensive tackles, Adam Butler, and let's see here, John Jenkins, number 95 for the Raiders, the other D lineman, the other D tackle. I don't know what to make of those guys. But I just know that the Bengals can't run the ball, even with Chase Brown as fast as he is. The run game coordination system is just not working. That those guys are going to have better days than they are originally set up for, and it's going to be one of those days where you're going to force Joe Burrow to have to carry his by the strength of his shoulder again. So there's a number of matchups, but my number one matchup concern outside of Max Crosby, because that's obvious, is the tight end room. Because I don't think that these corners are going to be able to lock down this tight end. I think that Brock Bowers is going to have himself a day. You might think it's National Tight Ends Day again this upcoming Sunday because, man, I don't see how any of our guys can cover him from real. I hope I'm wrong, but then again, we'll see.
I mean, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. The cabinet's not very full in Las Vegas for this Raiders team, but Brock Bowers and Max Crosby are both elite players. And they're going to be a handful for us.
And you know what? Here's another matchup concern that's not having to do with on the field production. It's the coaching mismatch that I feel like that can take place. It is going to be a slew of mediocrity, but what if Zach Taylor gets out coached by Antonio Pierce?
I can see that happening. I can totally see that happening because Antonio Pierce.
That's a major concern for me.
Yeah, they didn't give up last week against the Chiefs. They were not like just rolling over and like, oh, here. You guys can have this game. No, they kept it a game.
They should have won that game, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
They Patrick Mahomes threw an interception in deep in their own territory, and you thought, oh, this is going to be the moment where the Raiders are going to come back and to either tie it up or win this game, hopefully.
Yeah.
But then what happened? The Kansas City's defense in the clutch moment, and this is where I'm talking about where the heart and the formula of your team rises up to the occasion. Kansas City's defense shut them down and force their own turnover by turnover on downs or whatnot. It's the same thing we saw on Monday night against the Giants against the Steelers. The Giants did a clean punch out on Russell Wilson, recovered a fumble. That was impressive. You thought right then and there, oh, man, late in the game in the fourth quarter, Giants are going to go down and probably score and tie it up and get the 2-point conversion, and it's going to be a new ball game. But what did TJ Watt do? Him and his defense rose up to the occasion, strip sack fumble, and then got the ball back for the offense. And then they got another pick to seal it in the end. It's just the players matter on the field too, but the coaching aspect to energize and infuse the confidence in this bunch, that's what I feel like that's what we're going to be in a head-to-head battle for. And I don't know if Zach Taylor is going to be the guy, nor Lou Anarumo and company. I don't know if that's going to be the thing. And I'm very fearful of that.
Tim, do you see any matchup opportunities here that we might be able to exploit for the Bengals here against the Raiders?
I'm going to say it like I do every week. As long as we can protect Joe Burrow and give him enough time to throw the football and keep Max Crosby at bay, we might be able to do some damage. I know the Raiders have a corner.
Jack Jones.
Yeah, he's been there for a while.
He's fast.
Yeah, he's really good. So I think they're going to end up trying to double chase a little bit, but hopefully the Bengals do some different schemes and keep it in motion and slots and keeping them all over the place, just like always, same stuff. We can hope we get that matchup opportunity. But as long as we can keep Joe Burrow and, protect him and give him enough time to throw the ball, I think that's our best opportunity is Joe Burrow and then those wide receivers.
Justin, any other matchup opportunities you looking for in this game?
Yeah. I'm just going to stick with the one. It's for me. It's going to be. This should be the Jermaine Burton breakout game.
Oh,
I don't expect T. Higgins to play. Jermaine Burton made his presence somewhat known on the field. If anybody had a chance to watch the film on Jermaine Burton, like the All 22, this dude was making good route decisions, honestly. And there was a route that he carried 3 defenders with him to clear out space, and he just didn't get the ball. I believe that this should be the breakout game for Jermaine Burton. This is the opportunity to do it. I don't think that he's going to be getting the best corner lineup on him, but I feel like that this is going to be the perfect time to show that, hey, we should have played this guy to begin with, and he's arrived now. He's here now. Sorry, guys. That's what I think that the organization is going to tell us. But I'm just going to stick with him that he's my guy that I feel like that will be the best opportunity matchup-wise, because if T. Higgins is not on the field, you don't have no hope. And that's what the Bengals offense has shown us. So you might as well just try to see what you got in these young guys until Andre Joseph steps up and catches a pass. He hasn't caught a pass since the Giants game. I think that Jermaine Burton is probably primed to just show that he can be the guy that can be relied upon outside of him and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
I think we said going into the season. It's just so weird. Anyway, for me, this Raiders team has given up 32 points to the Steelers when Justin Fields was the quarterback. They gave up 34 points to the Broncos. They gave up 36 points in a loss to the Panthers. The Red Rifle threw for 319 and 3 tutties in that game. I feel like this is one where we can get loose a little bit. Let's open the offense up.
Seriously.
Let's see some up-tempo play. Let Joe Burrow call some of the plays at the line of scrimmage. Let go of the reins. What you're doing is not working. So my opportunity here is let the offense have some fun and take some shots and play the way they want to play. That opportunity could open the floodgates.
Yeah.
Am I confident we'll see that? I don't know.
No.
So that leads into the predictions.
Yeah.
We're going to do it again, man. I didn't give away game balls. I didn't ask who you wanted to give game balls to against Philadelphia because we ain't giving none out. We deflated all the balls and threw them all out. So I do want to know who you think could get an offensive game ball here. Tim, who you got for the offensive game ball?
I'm going to go with Gesicki again. I think Gesicki, since if T. Higgins does not play this week, I think Gesicki is going to be Joe Burrow's number 2 target. They're going to double up on Chase Brown, or on not Chase Brown. They're going to double up on Jamar Chase, and Gesicki is going to be open there to catch those slot receiving passes or even those number 2 passes. Unfortunately, I don't think Burton has. Is it Burton? Yeah, Burton. I don't think Burton has a chance to actually get a lot of catches. Zach Taylor did say that we'll see more of him or maybe more plays for him, but I think Gesicki's going to step up into that role and be my offensive game ball. That's who I'm giving it to.
Gesicki could have probably would have been in the lead to get it last week. Justin, who you got for your offensive game ball?
I'm going Jermaine Burton. I don't give a damn what Zach Taylor said. He needs to get on the field, and Joe Burrow shows his encouragement for him. And I think that it happens this week. I like Gesicki, and I like that he had that one-handed catch. I saw that in person. That was beautiful. And they did hurry up, and so that way it wasn't going to get challenged, even though he did get it. But this is the day. This is the game where you just say, screw F all, just F whatever we was doing before in the past. Like you just said, Brandon. Screw it. Whatever we were doing, it just ain't working. Just get our guys on the field. Put the best matchups out there, and Jermaine Burton can do that. So I'm giving him my game ball.
I'm going to my game ball prediction is going to be Joe Burrow because I think Joe needs to look over to the sidelines and go, I can't hear you, and just call his own plays and do his own thing, and then he gets the game ball for me. We'll run it back to you, Justin, here for your defensive game ball prediction.
Yeah, God,
how about it?
Oh my goodness, man.
Can you pull a diamond out of this bag of coal?
I'm struggling. They literally make me sick watching them. I'm losing my voice too. If you guys can hear, it's not really the same in as polished as what it was before. Look, I'm going to go with Chris Jenkins. I think that Chris Jenkins has the opportunity to wreak some havoc on the interior of their offensive line for the Raiders. I know they got guys that I like their potential in Jackson Powers Johnson and such. But at the end of the day, I like Chris Jenkins' potential better than their guys. So I think that I'm going to go with him.
All right, Tim, defensive game ball.
Can I give it to the refs? No. Okay. You know what? You know who usually plays pretty damn good against the Raiders?
Move.
I know, but you know who usually plays pretty good against the Raiders? I'm gonna give it to Jermaine Pratt. I'm gonna say Jermaine Pratt's gonna get my defensive game ball. The way the Raiders play, it seems like Pratt has usually a pretty damn good game against the Raiders. So Jermaine Pratt.
I also took Jermaine Pratt. I've got it written down here. And the reason why I took Jermaine Pratt is I started thinking about who's going to come out and play mean, angry football. And the two guys that popped in my mind were Hilton or Pratt. So I took Pratt. I think Hilton could also play angry. But I think it's going to take some playing angry to get this game ball. Let's do these predictions. Justin?
Okay, so this game opened up as an 8.5-point spread in favor of the Bengals, which is surprisingly astonishing to me given how they performed this past Sunday. The last time I checked today, it was down to 7.5 because that tells you that people are picking the Raiders to cover.
Flat 7 on DraftKings.
And it's 7. I saw 7.5 on FanDuel, which I took that Raiders to cover because I do believe that the Bengals will win, but the Raiders will cover. And I think that the score prediction I'm going to have is 30-24 Bengals.
All right, Tim.
Well, I was watching this show, real good podcast, called Pay Dirt. Those guys, man, you know, that B-Dirt dude, he's a good looking fella. But anyways, I seen that, you know, that the Bengals were, 7-point favors. I don't have faith in the Cincinnati Bengals defense. And as of right now, I don't have faith in the Cincinnati offense as well. I'm going to still say we win 23-20. We're not going to cover, of course. 23-20 is my game prediction. Bengals win. It's just the way that it's been going for us at home against these teams that we should have, could have won. It's not promising for me. So I'll just say 23, like I said, 23-20.
I think the law of averages say we finally get one and cover one. Just a law of average thing here for me. It gives some people who aren't in tune as much some false hope. So let's go Bengals 31-17. And I think it's because of their inept offense abilities more so than our defensive prowess.
Yeah, true.
Look at our wins so far.
Hey, let me make a bonus prediction. Evan McPherson misses another 50-yard field goal.
Oh shit. Come on, bro.
I'm sorry, man. It's until he makes one beyond 50 now, I have to predict that he's going to miss one from 50 or beyond. Now, inside 50, I don't think he misses. But outside of that, yeah, I think there's another miss here.
I digress.
Hey,
Double A, we appreciate you rocking with us over there in the comments, those threads as well. Everybody that tuned in, we appreciate you. It does not get lost on us that you guys show up every week to listen to us blow V8 about the Cincinnati Bengals and NFL football. Like, subscribe, rate, review. That 5-star review helps us so much. And share us with a friend. Get somebody else to come over here. Listen, we will be doing a reaction show. I will be probably saying it's going to be Monday. Could be Sunday night. It depends. I got to drive back from Michigan on Sunday. Just depends on when I get back. Unless it's a really bad game and I can talk Justin into doing it for me. Yo, not good.
And that
Good
won't be a
luck.
good reaction, just to let you guys know.
Nope. But listen, we still got Joe Burrow, so we still got a chance. And I'm going to say that until we don't have him anymore. So that dude is that dude. My last thing is this. I'm begging the Cincinnati Bengals, take a long, hard look in the mirror. It starts from the top down. Make those changes. That young man deserves it. Don't ruin this man. Don't ruin this man for us. It's still salvageable. We got it through 2029. So let's just do the right thing, not sit on our hands and not make the changes like we have done in the past. That's what I'm hoping for. Till then, these guys can right the ship with a good win against a bad team. And you can check us out next week, Wednesday Night Live, 8:05 Eastern Time on YouTube, or on your drive time Thursday morning at 5 a.m. We upload the podcast wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google Pod. You can catch us then as we are running through the jungle.